home schedule for this week. First of all, Thursday, men's basketball will open their practices, preseason practices. I'm sure Tim will be sending something out to everybody with information on media availability with regards to that. The women will open their practices next Monday, and Anthony will have some information about that for you. As far as other events, volleyball is home this weekend. They're still receiving votes in the national poll, and they'll be hosting UTSA on Friday and Saturday. And we have DeBraylen Carroll and Dean Connors will be our two players today. But first, we'll bring up Coach Bloomgren, talk about the first AAC home game at Rice against ECU.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank y'all for coming out today. After watching the South Florida film numerous times the past few days, it became very clear, just like I felt after the game, that we had opportunities. We were right there on the cusp. But the reality is they made more plays than we did in the stretch, and certainly in the end of the third and the fourth quarter. I do think this team fought their butts off and did that, but there's some realities in our game. You know, even when there's great individual performances, this is the ultimate team sport, and that's something we can't ever lose sight of. And, you know, I think this too. I think that every down in the game of football, somebody or somebody's is going to have a tough down. And whether it's getting double teamed, whether it's having to cover somebody with great speed down the field for a long period of time, whatever that is. And, you know, to be successful, you got to win your one-on-ones. And that's something that we're harping on. We're going back to the fundamentals of understanding what wins football games. And, again, nothing drastic, nothing like that, because I think that the big thing for me is each week I'm reminded how far this team has come. And I'm reminded how much I like this team. And even though we didn't get the result we wanted last Saturday, yeah, it changes nothing for how I feel about this team or how our process is going to go this week. So with that being said, you know, we got our home conference opener, the first AAC game that we get to host. And we're bringing Mike Houston's ECU Pirates to town. And they're an outstanding program, 8-5 last year, beat the heck out of Coastal Carolina in the bowl game. And you just see his fingerprint all over the team, the toughness. You see the takeaways that they have defensively that have always been a trademark of his. Matter of fact, I think they had 8 balls that they knocked out against Gardner-Webb on Saturday, and they recovered 5 of those fumbles. I mean, they just teach it as well as anybody in the country. So ball security, as always, will be a big deal. But we look forward to bringing this game and this team into historic Rice Stadium on Saturday and playing what's going to be a great college football game, and singleness of purpose of going 1-0 this week. One other note is that we'll be wearing special jerseys to pay homage to our NFL ties in this town. So we'll get a chance to wear those. I think it'll be really exciting for our players and staff, in addition to having this great AAC game out here this Saturday. With that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Coach, what is the health of JT?
JT's health is better today than yesterday, and certainly better than Sunday. So I'm not sure. You know, we were at a point where I think he might have been able to go back in the game on Saturday. You know, we were just trying to get him strong enough, and then AJ took us on a great drive there to score and got the 2-point conversion, and we were like, hey, we're good. You know, we were going to stick with AJ regardless if we got the ball back on the onside kick or if the defense had gotten him stopped.
So Daniels, did he practice yesterday? Or?
He did not practice yesterday.
Okay. You think he might practice today? Or
no, I don't. I certainly don't expect him to go full speed today, but he's preparing to start this weekend.
Well, it's got to make you feel pretty good, though, that Paget came out. You know, he played well when he did last year. And, you know, having a backup that you can rely on.
Yeah, it's absolutely great to have a guy like AJ in the room that got those 2 starting games, those 2 games of starting experience last year. When you talk about North Texas and then the bowl game, those were very valuable. But his time around JT's been valuable as well. You know, it's made him a different player, and certainly every day he can be around Marcus Tuiasosopo just makes him more and more confidence in the offense. But again, 18's playing pretty good football, and we're not going to take him off the field on purpose.
There's very few colleges this year that have gotten off to the start that you guys have. I think. What are you guys doing to get your first couple of possessions in the first quarter doing so well?
Yeah, I think a lot of that just comes down to these players being very comfortable. I think Coach Tuiasosopo putting a good plan together all week and then giving the guys the comfort in the plan. One thing we do is, Thursdays we debut the openers to the guys. And so we're going to go through the openers in practice. Friday, we're going to walk through those openers. Saturday morning, we're going to walk through those openers. Saturday after pregame meal, we're going to walk through those openers. There's so much comfort with not only the primary looks that a defense will give us, but also the secondary looks. And for the defensive side of the ball, that's been a key too, right? Like starting fast. You think about, getting the stop on fourth down at Texas to the first play of the game against Texas Southern, getting the turnover, and then getting another one real quick there as well in the Texas Southern game. We've just started out on fire. And, that's what we talk about. We want to start fast, stay focused, and finish strong. I know that's a formula for success. And now we've really started focusing on the middle eight as another metric that we want to be great at. When you can win those three, when you can start fast, win the middle eight, and finish strong, you're probably going to have a lot of W's.
Rushing stats are kind of skewed a little bit in the fact that in college, quarterback sacks count against the rushing total, but still just 1 yard rushing. Yet, what do you guys have to do to get the run game going?
Yeah, that was not to our standard. There's no sidestepping that. That was not good enough. Our performance the other day, we had 7 yards on 13 called runs. And so once again, whether you say we had 1 yard rushing or whether you say 7 yards on 13 carries, that's just not what we're looking for. There's a couple things that have to happen, but I really think it goes back to those one-on-ones. I would tell you that in our first 3 games, I thought the running backs left a lot of meat on the bone, and there were some runs that could have been a lot bigger. In this last game, I thought they really hit everything the way it was designed to be done, and the offensive line didn't give them a chance to get started. The blocking unit, which is always the tight ends, and everybody's involved in that, we didn't give them a chance to get started. And then because of the way the game was going and because of the success of the passing game, didn't try a whole lot in the second half. And that's okay too, but that's not what I want. I want the ability to be balanced, and balance is not going to be 50-50, but it's the ability to run the ball when we want to run the ball and pass the ball when we want to pass the ball. I joked with Dean yesterday, that he's no longer a running back. He's a passing back after that 80-yard touchdown and everything. But all jokes aside, we're going to get the running game going. I'm not anywhere near a panic on it. And again, it was my decision in the second half to take those attempts away. I just thought we were being very successful through the air, and we were protecting the passer pretty good.
I know you're still figuring out some things in regards to your offense, but in terms of the offense, what are you still learning about this offense and the talent that you have on the offense, like you just talked about Dean Connor?
Yeah, I think the things that I guess we're all still learning is, or we're really striving for. We're not learning. We're striving for consistency every play, and that's the big deal. And when we can get 11 people to do their jobs, whether we're talking about the run game or protection, blocking it up, and the quarterback throwing the ball down the field and the receiver making a great play, like we're seeing those things. We're just seeing them not as often in the run game right now. You look back at the offense against Texas, we struggled to protect the quarterback, right? Everybody Texas has played has struggled to protect the quarterback. They're a pretty good front, and they're a good football team. Then you come back the next week against Houston, and we did some really good things protecting the quarterback, and it paid dividends for us, especially in those early drives. Texas Southern, we were able to run and pass it pretty well. And then again, if you can throw for 500 yards in college football, I don't know if it matters how you get 500 yards. You know what I'm saying? Because as long as we're huddling, we're owning time of possession, we're moving the sticks, and we're creating explosives. We had 11 explosives in the pass game. We're doing some good things. It's not maybe the way that I won for a lot of years in the National Football League and at Stanford, but we're doing the things that we need to do to win. We just need to capitalize on those opportunities. And when I say those opportunities, I'm talking about those red zone drives, those red zone trips. And although we've been pretty good at coming away with a high percentage in the red zone, we need those all to be touchdowns when we get down there. We got to find a way to put it in the box so that the kicker, yes, the kicker missed 2 field goals, and that's not good enough either. But it shouldn't have come to that. The offense should have put the ball in the box, and we shouldn't have been lining up to kick field goals. There should have been extra points that would have went through the pipes.
The ECU offense, they played multiple quarterbacks. Is there a rhyme or reason to that? Or I know last week, I guess they played 3.
Yeah, well, I think they played 3 because of the way the game went. The turnovers and the fact that, I think they were up 35-0 to start the fourth. And so, Mason Garcia is the starter is what seems to be clear. And then Alex Flynn has gotten in there and done some good things. He actually started the App State game. But they got their young quarterback in towards the end of the game on Saturday, and he did some really good things. He's got some ability to run the ball as well as throw the ball. So I think he's going to be a bright future for their program. But right now, I certainly expect if they're going to stay with a two-headed monster, it'll be Mason Garcia and Alex Flynn.
And then when it comes to American Conference opponents, a lot was made this offseason of how many new coaches and how many new faces are in the league. You and Mike Houston now are some of the longest tenured coaches at your respective schools in the American. Now that you have more than 3 games of film to look at for a conference opponent, how do you kind of approach that challenge?
Yeah, I think, again, like you look at their defense, a lot of similarities to what they did last year offensively with the new quarterbacks that they're rolling through. It's a little bit different, but like we can't forget that this is a balanced offense in a lot of ways, right? Like they're going to have the ability to take shots. It's going to look more pro style than maybe a collegiate offense. They got a great runner in Ray J. Harris coming back that, I think he was injured some of last year, and he's starting to get back to the form that made him a real force in this conference, in the American Conference 2 years ago. So I think there's a lot of talent. The thing that's interesting when you talk about Mike Houston is like my relationship with him goes back to 2002. When he was the head coach at TC Roberson High School in Asheville, North Carolina, and I was coaching at Catawba College, and I was recruiting his school and going in there talking ball and just hanging out. And now the fact that we're playing each other on a Saturday in major college football is pretty cool.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the uniforms?
I'm sorry?
About the uniforms, can you tell us a little bit more?
So they're going to be amazing is what I'll tell you. And there is an actual there's a reveal that's going to happen. It's gonna hype those things up pretty good, and I want you to see that. Yeah, brought a helmet last time, and last time we had the mannequin, right, with the space. This is another Houston tribute, and it's one that, just like the last time, has very close ties to Rice University and historic Rice Stadium.
Around for tough.
He's not coming, not this time. Everybody good? Thank you. Anything?
Steve, do you have anything?
Sure. Bloom, last week it seemed like one of the difficulties of South Florida's offense was just the mobility that Byron Brown brought to the table. So going forward against this ECU team where their leading rusher is a quarterback, Mason Garcia, just what are some of the challenges in prepping for that?
Yeah, I mean, Mason, just like this kid last week, Mason's a big human being, and he gets rolling pretty good, and he finds a way to get to the sticks and beyond. So we've got to do a great job, like understanding how we're going to contain this quarterback. We got to do a great job getting to him because, again, like some of his plays happened off schedule when you talk about Byron, but there was a lot of them where he just dropped back in 7-man protection and threw the ball with great touch down the field. Like their quarterback played out of his mind from South Florida last week. I mean, he was so accurate and hit some tight windows and some boundary throws. That again, he made a great play. He won his one-on-one that down, if you will, and threw the ball in the only place he could be caught by the receiver. And, the things that we challenge our guys to do is make sure they never get beat deep, right? Play top down in this defense and make sure they stay on top of it and react to the underneath stuff. And when we do that, we make people go the long way. Our D-line is going to have a chance to eat, and that's what you saw. Is I felt like the whole second half it was like a run for -3, it was a run for 0, and then it was a shot. Right. And we've just got to make sure that if somebody's going to max protect and our D line's not going to have the time to get there, we've got to do our job down the field and make them line up again and punt some of those. So, again, yes, another mobile quarterback that hopefully doesn't have the best day of his life against us this Saturday. And we'll do a lot to affect that as well.
John, go ahead, John.
Yeah. Mike, last week you said that before the game, one of your fears was the tempo that USF ran and the defense being on the heels all day. So I get that it looked like that's kind of what happened. Just how does the defense, how did you grade the defense, and what would you say coming into this week? What's the big thing you need to look out for?
Well, I think when you talk about the tempo, number one, I think we did a great job practicing it last week. And I do think with just a few exceptions, our defense was ready for the fight. They had cleats in the ground. They were ready to go. So I don't know that, again, if we hadn't emphasized the tempo, probably would have been a bigger deal. And we'll see some tempo this week from the ECU Pirates. That's going to happen. But we're a lot more prepared for it. We understand what 6 to 8 seconds looks like in terms of having to get set and be ready for that fight. So when you talk about keys this week, I think it's going to go back to, like, how many takeaways can we get from this group? You know, how good and disciplined can we be in staying top down? How well will we tackle in space? And then the biggest thing, like when, you know, I talked to the team about this yesterday, is discipline, like understanding where you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to be doing your job, and making sure it's done that way. Because then it comes down to winning your 111th. If those first two are there, you're in the right place, you know what you're supposed to be doing, then now it's whipping the dude in front of you, which is what this great game is all about.
You had to get AJ to have some unexpected playing time last week. What was, you may have talked about this at the start, but I had your problem on here. How would you grade his performance and what, in having come in like he did, what do you see from him in the future now?
Well, look, there was some good mixed in there, and it's never easy when you're not preparing to be the starter and you get thrown into action, right? Like you tell the backup, you better prepare like you're the starter. You never freaking know. But the reality is that's tough. And so AJ went in there and handed the ball off on his first 2 attempts, and then we called it naked on 3rd and 3. And honestly, South Florida did a great job matching it. Wasn't really a place to go with the ball. So that drive ends. Then he has a chance to, you know, hey, we got another drive going. Game's still in the balance, clearly still in the balance. And we have a big 3rd down throw where Dean's actually running wide open, and we don't hit him. And you know what? That's something we got to hit as a collegiate quarterback. So that's not good enough, you know, because that's not a read or anything other than doing your job and delivering the football, which AJ has all the arm talent in the world. He can certainly make that throw as well as any other on the field. So we've got to be able to make that throw and keep the set of chains alive. But then you look at the last drive of the game, he goes in there and makes a ridiculous placement throw to Luke that Luke makes a great one-handed catch on, and then he ends it with the touchdown to Rossi McNeil in the back corner of the end zone and hits the 2-point conversion. So I'd say that he ended really strong. We need him to come into the game anytime he enters a game in the settled down version of himself so he can execute to the standard that we know he can.
You talked a little bit about how you're not happy with the balance, you want the offense to be more balanced. And I guess my question, how does having a guy like JT help mask some of those issues with the balance, just knowing that knowing how he can read the play and connect with receivers and be a little bit quicker just because he's got the experience?
Yeah, again, like, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm saying that balance is $50 on 1st and 2nd down, run to pass, or some of the years at Stanford when maybe we didn't have a great quarterback. We were 70-30 in the run game. We have a great quarterback. And if we're going to be 30-70 run to pass or 20-80, I'm on board as long as we're being efficient, as long as we're doing what we need to do in terms of getting first downs and scoring points. Hey, man, that's what it's all about. So I'm not – nobody in this building is going to be prideful of, hey, we're going to run it just to run it. Like, we want to move the sticks and score points. And ultimately, we need to score one more than our opponent.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Braylon.
Talk about the pressure you're able to get last week, but some of the things y'all have to do moving forward.
Focus is every week go 1-0. And so, like last week, we got to make sure we contain the quarterback. I feel like we did a pretty good job. Just got to do better with the match protection, just transitioning faster on the play action. But I feel like we did a pretty good job of keeping them in the pocket, but now we got to close the pocket and affect the passer a little better than we did this past week.
Chuck always has some pretty good notes in the note package. I was looking at the fact that you were recruited, I guess it was Coach K, when y'all played North Shore. Apparently you had a pretty good game.
Yes, sir, I did.
What did you do in that game? Do you kind of remember anything that stood out?
I know I say I probably had 2 sacks. I know I had a lot of pressures. I just kind of commanded double team. So I feel like I had a pretty good game that game that kind of led to that. So
Now, were you being heavily recruited?
Well, I say after the state championship game, I had a pretty decent amount of like Power Five schools that came and saw me and, thought about me as coming to their programming. But ultimately, I made my decision to come here. So,
Okay, so what really sold you on Rice? What sold you to play here?
just how they believed in me from the beginning. They understood who I was as a player and a person. And I felt like it was a real family environment here. So that's why I chose Rice.
What have you seen from ECU? Coach talked about their two quarterbacks, but what type of offense you going against?
Well, definitely we see how the quarterback is the leading rusher, so that's going to play a factor with the run game when he's in, and when the other quarterbacks in, they want to throw the ball a little more. So just keying on that, and just taking advantage of our one-on-ones. Like Coach said, when we get in those situations, we got to capitalize on them. So every time we get a one-on-one, or our numbers call on the play, we got to make sure we execute.
I know you look at the scoreboard in the USF game, and that's too many points. But, like Coach was talking about, it felt like it was first down, second down, maybe stop after stop, a lot of negative plays. What's kind of the next step, taking the defense to getting all those negative plays to maybe getting a turnover, getting that additional stop?
Well, we got to keep stacking our days and keep those negative plays going forward. Like Coach said, playing top down, just make sure they're throwing the ball in front of us and we can, catch tackle. That'd be a good job. But I feel like up front and the DB as well, we've done a great job as a defense creating those negative plays. We just got to finish those drives and end those drives rather than prolonging them and allowing the plays to go over our head.
And I wanted to ask you, on Saturday, you had that play that went down to the 1 yard line and Tyson Flower gets that punch out. What was kind of that sequence like from your perspective?
Well, that's funny you mentioned that play. So tackle tried to block down on me. I held my ground in a gap. And while I was making a tackle, one of our other players was on the ground making a tackle as well. And I tripped over him, which didn't allow me to finish the tackle to the ground. And Tyson just straining to finish like he always does and just punched it out and made a great play.
Talk about how you doing?
Doing well.
Talk about how these games make you better. Texas game, and then this game against South Florida. I know you guys went into those games knowing that you were prepared, but then you learn things, as you go and you play and you look at the film and you realize, as Coach Bloom was talking about, you realize some things.
Well, a lot of things. I say you realize a lot of things about yourself. Just going against that competition, especially like going against Texas. They were pretty high-ranked offensive linemen. Offensive line as a unit, and they didn't allow a lot of sacks, a lot of pressure. So going in, we knew it was going to be a challenge, and I feel like we held our own and we stepped up to that challenge. And then USF with the tempo, we knew going in what it was going to be, and we had to, like I said, win our one-on-ones and take advantage of the opportunities that we got. I feel like we did a pretty good job of doing that. So the sky's the limit for our defensive line, and just as the defense in general. We just got to make sure that we just keep week after week preparing, just go 1-0.
And then when you got the chance to look at the film, what do you see about the ECU offense?
Well, I've only been watching probably about 2 days, but I feel like they're pretty balanced. They want to run the ball. I feel like they're a pretty good group, well coached. Definitely a lot of strain on the offensive line, so it's always good going against competitors. So can't wait to get in there. But for the most part, they're pretty balanced, I'd say.
Playing your first conference game at home. Excited about that?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Coming to the American is definitely, great, and it feels great to be here. And just to have a home opener in this conference, excited to let people know who we are.
You got 4 MBAs on the front D line. You guys are pretty smart.
Yeah. That is true. All of us are in the NBA program. And it's a blessing just to be here and be able to get that degree from Rice. So I feel like that's just a testament to how hard we work just on and off the field as a unit. So
Anything from
thank you.
Take us through the big, heard coach referencing, whatever he said, the passing, running back now, that big play, and at the time it came, that was a huge swing of that game.
Yeah, Tyson made a great play. He's one of my good buddies, so having him make a good play and going out there and rallying for the defense, setting it up for us was good to contribute.
Dean, look, so you catch the pass, you see nothing in front of you, and he just asked you about taking us through that, but it's got to feel kind of nice when you don't see a defender in front of you, and you know you can outrun the defenders behind you.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad actually after the game. He noticed it on the TV, but it was the first time I've ever looked up at the Jumbotron or whatever to see if there's anything behind me. I've always watched athletes do that, and I was like, how do they do that? I don't understand how they look up while they run. But I just kind of saw it in my peripheral and used it as a tool, and I was like, wow, so that actually works. People do that, so it was cool to do that for once.
I know everything's a healthy competition. Have you now chatted with the wide receivers and said, hey, our running back has the longest reception on the team this year?
Yeah, it was good to. It was good to run, like we said, but I just got to contribute in every way I can and compete with Luke.
When it comes to getting that ground game going, I know Coach talked about not being satisfied with last week. Through 4 games, what's kind of stuck out to you is the things that you really think you could tweak to get it going, and how confident are you that you can get things turned around?
We're confident. O-line works hard. Running backs work hard, and we'll fix our mistakes. We can't go back in those games, and we've moved on from those.
Should ask Coach about Luke, but since you referenced him, speak from the offensive perspective. You've been around here a minute. That what you've seen Luke do, not just that game, but you've seen him really step up the wide receiver spot.
Yeah, he works so hard. Just seeing him as one of my friends, and the amount of work he puts in off the field, not just in the building, going home and watching film, and getting his body right, and studying, and handling his school. He works harder than anyone I know.
Still early in the week, you'll know so much more about ECU in a few days. As of now, what are some of the challenges you see from ECU's defense?
ECU likes to bring pressure, but I don't think that's a negative thing. We did a good job on that last game, and it's always good to have a challenge like that. They play hard. They like to turn the ball over, go after the ball when ball carriers are carrying it. And I think ball security is always a big emphasis for us, and that'll be one of the challenges. Give them the ball.
Did I hear you say that you are competing with Luke?
Yeah, he's my buddy. We compete no matter what it is.
You want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Today at breakfast, I think we got into a pretty heated debate about, I think it was Tyreek Hill, and we probably got a little too heated when we were supposed to talk about, but no matter what it is, he's a competitor, I'm a competitor, so. And as long as we're competing, we're both contributing to the team, it helps us out.
So who has the longer touchdown on Saturday against ECU?
Hopefully they're both 99.
Anything from Chief? Right, we're done.
That's got to be a rare occurrence at any level.